Okay, welcome to Tuesday's workshop, where we are talking about workstation ergonomics and really setting up your workstation to support your best work posturing. Now, we've done this workshop probably 2 or 3 times, so today I'm going to take a bit of a different approach and not necessarily go step by step through having the best ergonomic workstation, but I'm going to give you some good data and some good support to help get you on the right track. Now, you hear me say this every Tuesday night, but I really value and appreciate your taking the time to be with us this Tuesday evening, because there are many things you could be doing outside of sitting in a workshop, in a practice, really choosing to dig deep and to learn about how you can better support your health and well-being, especially as it relates to sitting and your workstation setup. I understand that the majority of our workstations are in front of technology, and a lot of us are sitting. Some of us may be standing, and there's some major detriments to that. So I want to start there with really understanding why we're talking about sitting and having a better workstation setup. So sitting and other forms of prolonged, uninterrupted sedentary time promotes cardiometabolic disorders, obesity, depression, and all-cause mortality in adults. Meaning, if you are sitting or in a prolonged, uninterrupted sedentary posture, you are going to die sooner than somebody who is not. Children who have prolonged sitting are linked to obesity, anxiety, and depressive symptoms. And more than 24 chronic diseases, from diabetes to high blood pressure to back pain and deep vein thrombosis, is connected to sitting. And if you've been in any, I don't know, if you haven't had your head in a hole in the last 10 years, you maybe have heard sitting is compared to smoking. Sitting is the new smoking. And this is what some of the researchers and specialists are saying, that sitting is more dangerous than smoking, killing more people than HIV, and is more treacherous than parachuting. We are sitting ourselves to death. I want you to say that out loud with me, even though I can't hear you. I want you to say it. If you're here, say sitting, we are sitting ourselves to death. Say it. We are sitting ourselves to death. One more time. We are sitting ourselves to death. One more time. We are sitting ourselves to death. Say, I am sitting myself to death. Say that. I am sitting myself to death, because we are not designed to be sitting, period. And so when the early 1900s came around and we created these office spaces to cut down on the need to, commute to and from work. And we became more modernized and created these, facilities and places to work. We started moving less and less. That, of course, happened much more swiftly with, the advent of computers and those sorts of things. But we are not designed to sit. And when we are sitting, I want you to think that we are moving more swiftly towards death than life. So I'm going to introduce you to Stand Up Kids. It's an organization that has really taken and made an effort to create opportunities for kiddos to be standing in the classroom. They've got a really great website. We'll look at it in a second. But Juliet Starrett, in her podcast, came across some research that showed office workers who smoke are healthier than non-smokers, simply because they get up every 30 minutes or so to walk outside to have a cigarette. So when we say sitting is the new smoking, we say sitting is worse than smoking. I think for some people that's, we really got to sit with it. Really got to sit with how much you're sitting. So I want to bring up Emma here. Now, this is a report that came out in the UK titled The Work Colleague of the Future. And a team of health experts led by behavioral futurist William Higham looked at a survey data submitted by more than 3,000 office workers in France, Germany, and the UK. The percentages of UK office workers who said they already suffered from sore eyes, sore backs, and headaches were a direct result of the work environment informed the design of Emma, who also suffers from stress-related eczema, excess weight, and swollen limbs. This is the office worker of the future. She's not very pretty, huh? So the office worker of the future has a hunched back. She has eczema, pale skin, varicose veins, bloodshot eyes, hairy nose and ears, rotund stomach, and swollen limbs. And this is what the report said. Unless we make radical changes to our working lives, such as moving more, addressing our posture at our desks, taking regular walking breaks, or considering moving our workstation setup, our offices are going to make us very sick. I don't know about you, but she don't look so good, right? I don't want to look like Emma. So if you feel like you want to stand now for the entire workshop, I understand. Let's keep going. Now let's talk about understanding why it's important to know how much you're sitting in a day. Because in 2010, the American Cancer Society came out with a study that they published in the American Journal of Epidemiology that followed 123,000 individuals. So that's a big study for 13 years, from 1993 to 2006. These were the results. Women who were inactive and sat over 6 hours a day were 94% more likely to die than during the same time period of those who were physically active and sat less than 3 hours. That's basically 100% of women, if you're sitting for 6 hours or more and more sedentary in your lifestyle. Now, men who were inactive and sat over 6 hours were 48% more likely to die than their standing and active counterparts. So 100% of women, 1 in 2 men. There's something called the sitting disease, and it is really a result of our modern lifestyle of sedentary life at home and in the workplace, and is costing us and our employers. So I think that it is really important to, number one, do a sitting audit to see how long you're sitting. And the goal is, over time, how can you slowly reduce that time frame? These are scary statistics, especially if your work requires you to have some level of, access to a laptop, an iPad, and being on Zoom all day. I mean, I know somebody who's scheduled back to back. She said it tonight. I'm scheduled back to back, basically from 9 to 5 with Zoom meetings, right? So where I like to start is know your numbers. And as it relates to how long you're sitting, and this Stand Up Kids website has a really great calculator for that. So if you go to standupkids.org, you can go to the tools here, and you can go to calculator. And this will tell you, here's sitting time calculator. Evaluate how much time you sit each day, and that way, once you know, you can have clarity on how you can reduce that. So this is really nice because it breaks down breakfast, your commute, your morning hours, your lunch hour, all of those things. Once you have that, you can better identify a goal to reduce your sitting amount. Let's see. So additional information. I exercise about a half hour to an hour daily. And you can select the longest amount of time in hours you sit without interruption here. Then it'll calculate. And frankly, I haven't gone through this to see what the calculation will give you. But okay, so total sitting hours per day and your risk for sitting disease. So let's just do this while we're here. Let's say I eat, for half hour, I'm eating breakfast, 15-minute drive to work. I've got a 4-hour work morning. I've got maybe 30 minutes at lunch, another 4-hour work shift here. I commute home 15 minutes. My evening meal, we spend half an hour, let's say. And then I need to really chill out. So I don't really, well, watch TV. Okay. Let's say I need to just relax for 2 hours and watch TV. Compute at home. So if there's any computer work at home, we'll just say 1 hour. If there's other, we're going to leave that at 0. Let's say I do exercise for a half hour to an hour, and select the longest amount of time in hours you sit without interruption. What do you think? We'll ask the folks who are in the office. What do you think the standard is? You think people go 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, the longest? 2? Okay, we'll go 2. So let's calculate. So based on these numbers, total sitting hours per day, 13 hours, our risk for sitting disease very high. And we know the stats around sitting disease and how it impacts our health and longevity. So I think it's worth going through the sitting time calculator to really gauge, okay, let's put my numbers in there. Let's go back to knowing our numbers. So first is to really do a time on it and how much you're sitting, and use that calculator. And then the goal is to sit less than 3 hours a day. Now understand, sedentary is a non-active lifestyle. Sleep is also considered sedentary. So I think when I was doing some research related to sitting specifically, we found the average person was sedentary for 17 of the 24 hours that are in a day, and sleep was a chunk of that. So if you sleep 8 hours, that's your 6 to 8 hours, you're talking about 9 to 11 hours of sedentary activity. So the goal is to sit for less than 3 hours a day. If you are sitting, you need to get a standing desk immediately, period. I tell people all the time, if you don't have a standing desk, get one. They are cost effective. I mean, you can make your own sitting desk or standing desk, but your health is worth it, period. There's no reason to wait any longer, and you really need to transition to getting to a standing, standing long term, especially if you've been sitting for 13 hours a day. If you go straight to standing, it's a shock to the body. And if you ask Maggie or Paige who work here, they will tell you that, man, those first couple weeks were rough because you were standing. You went basically from, like, I guess I'm not sure how long you guys were sitting, but you went from, maybe sitting for longer periods of time to just standing. Like Paige does not have a stool to perch on. Maggie, when she's doing helping us with her reports, maybe she'll sit down, but they are literally standing all day and moving their bodies. So it's definitely a transition time. So I would say get a perching stool and sit on that for 20 to 30 minutes at a time, and slowly transition your time out of that seated posture, and make sure it's the appropriate height. And I think, let's just go back to, let's use these guys because they're great. Standing desk height. So they've got a nice video here of standing desk height. Okay. I guess I could have shown you a picture of standing desk height, but as you're looking at this picture, you're going to want to make sure that you've got, if you look at her arms, see how she's got a nice obtuse angle of elbows, and it's not like really tight in here. It's not totally straight. She's got a nice resting where it's about 120 degrees. And she's actually resting her foot on a footstool. So one of the ways to minimize fatigue is to have something to rest your foot on. And you can always turn a wastebasket to its side, or you can get a step stool or something to rest right foot, left foot there. But you can go ahead and just watch this quick 2-minute video that'll go into more detail. Well, it's 6:03. Let's see what it has to say. How's that sound, you guys? See what stand up.
So welcome to Stand Up Kids. Today we're going to just quickly talk about how to adjust the desk for the height of the student. Seems like
okay. Can you guys hear on Zoom? I don't know if I shared my sound. Let's share it again.
Yes, can hear it.
Okay. Okay, here we go.
Very complex, but we've got a simple rule and an easy algorithm for you to follow so that you can get the right height desk for each student. So we're standing here with Georgia, and the key concept here is if Georgia backs away from the desk, puts her elbows up so her forearms are parallel with the ground, and just flips her hands over, that would be the base height, and what we want is the desk to be about 1 centimeter higher than that. And the idea is that when she approaches the desk in this position, the centimeter slightly higher than hands by her side, arms parallel to the ground, this will allow her to brace her shoulders appropriately, creating another stability system in the spine. What we want you to remember is that we're able to use the desk as sort of a leaning, standing platform. So Georgia has her foot up on the desk, she's able to lean her body against it, plus create positions around the elbows. Now, she has multiple contacts of point with the desk. This allows her to maintain her spinal neutral head position, spinal position, and not de-fatigue or fatigue or deflate into sort of a poorly sustainable position. What's great about this also is that when Georgia's on technology in this shape, she's automatically protected. Heads are up, and if she's working on an iPad or something in this position, once again, just having the desk at this height allows her to support it so that she's able to work it appropriately and still maintain her head position. Once again, what we've done and our experience is then, if we have the desk arms parallel with the ground, all you have to do is come up about 1 centimeter from that, and if we move forward, that's exactly the height of George's desk.
Okay. Well, I thought that was beneficial to watch. So let me go back to my PowerPoint here. So you saw that they had a nice rest for Georgia's foot there. The other thing that would be an option is treadmills are kind of a big thing. You can get a treadmill for a desk at a pretty reasonable price. I mean, I think I had somebody find one for like $100 or $200. But standing is classified as a light intensity activity when active. So I want you to think about if you're standing and you're doing dishes, that's considered a more active, light intensity active activity versus if you're standing and waiting in the grocery line. So if you can create a standing desk where you're doing more light intensity activity by using, say, a treadmill, that's going to be beneficial for you long term because you're using your body. You're moving your body. Again, you weren't meant to be in a static place forever. For 13 hours a day, you weren't meant to do that. And so a treadmill is an option, and a wobble board is also an option. So I just searched wobble board, but I want you just to see what this thing looks like. Is you stand here, so here's a picture of standing, and anything just kind of like a stability ball or a vestibular disc that you would put on your chair. Anytime you may not pick up on it, but anytime you shift and move your body weight, your brain has to recalibrate and keep you balanced, has to fire muscles so that you can maintain that stability and movement. Your brain is doing that all the time. You don't even need to think about it. So that's where a treadmill, I mean, again, we go to a desk and we go on autopilot, right? We just get zoned in and we get focused. I'm a chiropractor. I know a lot of things about alignment and movement and posture, but when I am focused on whatever it may be in front of me, I get in there, I'm focused, and I could be here for a long period of time. And then I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel good, right? And so that's where if you can create a more passive way that it's just there, that's going to work with moving your structure and you don't have to think about it, that's where a wobble board is nice, a treadmill is nice. If we go to this next slide, I would say guidelines here. You should be doing postural interruptions every 15 to 20 minutes. Now, a postural interruption, it does not need to be like, go do 3 sets of 10 push-ups. This is an interruption of your posture. So if you are sitting, you're going to stand up, maybe stretch. If you are, I want to go through some ranges of motion, do some shoulder circles. I'm going to interrupt my posture that I'm in and change to a next position. The best position is the next position. That should be your motto. If you're thinking, oh, should I change my posture? Yes, you should. So if you have a laptop and you can move it from, your standing desk to maybe you're sitting on the floor or sitting on a pillow. Maybe you're doing stretches while you're, maybe you're sitting on the floor and putting the laptop on a couch cushion or an ottoman, right? The best position is the next position. And I want you to think about the posture interruptions. They can be a water break. They can be running to the printer. They can be a lot of different things, but the more you're moving throughout the day, the better off you are. Like I said, your body was never designed to sit for any extended periods of time. And this is concerning because they've done studies and they found that the effects of long-term sitting are not reversible through exercise or other good habits. Meaning, if you're sitting for long periods of time, months on end, you cannot reverse that stress that your body has incurred by working out 3 hours a night. You've got to move throughout your day, period. And I always follow that up with, anybody go to school? What'd you do in school? You sat. Now, for some of us who are a little bit older, we didn't have technology as a big part of our lessons and utilized throughout, our classes. But anybody go to, middle school, high school? Anybody do like any further education, whether it's a trade school, college? Anybody continue on with maybe, some doctorate programs? Guess what? Majority of us have been sitting for years. And the 1 or 2 recesses that we got were not enough. We got to change it now. And so that's where, if you can get movement throughout your day, is the best option. That's where we like posture interruptions. So we talk about spinal hygiene on the regular, but then if you are doing Zoom meetings or you are chained to the need for technology, can you do, a meeting on the move? Can you do it while you're walking your dog or getting outside? That really is the reality, because of this, cardiometabolic disorders, obesity, depression, we are moving towards death much faster if we are sitting. Children, obesity, anxiety, depression. Let's just look at Emma for a second. Does Emma look like she can live till she's 80 and be a very vitalistic, healthy woman? No, because this is what's happening when you're sitting. This is why it's got to change. 100% of women, basically, if you are sitting longer than 6 hours a day, 50% of men. This is why you've got to change. And if you're wanting more details on how to set up your workstation, I will happily point you to the Workstation Ergonomics setup. We've got multiple on our YouTube channel. You want, step by step, we can print it off and provide that to you in the office. If you want me to, or Dr. Kristen, to assess your workstation setup, happy to do so. Take pictures and we can give you more details there. But the reality is life as we know it is not sustainable. It's got to change. And if you're waiting for a work to cover your standing desk, stop waiting. Your body is worth way more than waiting. And that's where I will tell you, you chiropractic advocates, that you who are getting adjusted on a regular basis, you are introducing healthy movement into your spine. You are supporting better alignment. You are supporting a brain that's under less stress. We talk about the body is not meant to be static. The spine is not meant to be static. So when you are not getting healthy movement in your spine, then again, you are moving towards death more swiftly than somebody who is not. And so you showing up today, who are getting adjusted on a regular basis, you are moving towards a more vitalistic future for yourself. That means you in 5, 10, 20 years is going to be a different you. So I want that for everybody. And, you know, I will look at who is with you right now. Look at to your left and look to your right. If you have a loved one there, I love that, because that is somebody who's going to hold you accountable to doing what is most right for your health. And if you don't have somebody left and right of you, then they should be here with you tonight. Or you should share this workshop with them so that they can stop sitting so much and start standing and moving their bodies, start understanding how long they're sitting, and, you know, chip away at that and move it towards, you know, less than 3 hours. So I'll end there. If you have questions, happy to answer those in the office. I really value and appreciate your being with us tonight. And I look forward to hearing how you're going to start implementing this in, you know, your office setup, your workstation setup. Really, how are you going to start implementing that? That's what we want to hear in the office. And how can we support you to implement that? So Dr. Maya Kinzigler of Monarch Family Chiropractic. This will be, oh yes, thank you. This will be posted on our YouTube channel. It is Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. And what we ask that you do, if you are listening to the recording, so that you get credit, we're asking that you actually comment on our YouTube video. That way, we can keep track of those comments and we can understand how it's supporting you. And if you don't have a YouTube login, then you can fill out the sheet here in the office so that you get credit for watching this recording. Love and appreciate you. Thank you for being here with me tonight, and we'll see you in the office. So, stop recording.